Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're decoding a classic piece of devotional writing to figure out the secret to defeating those really bad days. We're going to break down some deeply profound spiritual concepts, specifically how to overcome discouragement and really understand the massive power behind our words. And we're going to do it in a way that's so clear you could easily turn around and explain it to a child. Because let's be honest here, when discouragement hits, no matter how old we are, we kind of feel completely helpless, right? Let's dive right into what the source material shows us.
Okay, let's start by asking a question I know we have all felt at some point. Have you ever noticed how a tiny mistake or just a really minor inconvenience can suddenly feel like an absolute disaster? I mean, think about how a kid reacts when their favorite toy breaks or an assignment goes wrong. To them, it is literally the end of the world. But hey, we adults do this too, don't we? Our everyday frustrations suddenly feel incredibly heavy. So why exactly does that happen?
Part 1. The seen versus the unseen.
To solve this mystery of why our problems feel so completely overwhelming, the source text points us toward two very different ways of looking at the world. It draws from a famous passage in 2 Corinthians, which introduces this really interesting word, temporal. If we break that big word down, temporal simply means temporary. It's fading away. It really only lasts for a little while. If you're explaining this to a kid, it's the broken toy, the scraped knee, maybe a bad grade. It's the stuff right in front of our eyes that causes us this momentary affliction.
Now, when we compare the two concepts, a really clear picture starts to emerge. On one hand, we have the seen. These are earthly things, the temporary troubles that the text actually calls light affliction, which is but for a moment. But on the flip side, we have the unseen. These are the eternal things that last forever. The devotional makes this incredible point. If our minds are fixed on the things that are eternal, we will grasp the hand of infinite power. And it asks this absolutely beautiful question. If we hold that infinite power, what could possibly make us sad?
Part 2. The magnifying glass trick. So if we have access to this infinite power, why do those passing troubles still feel so incredibly heavy? Well, the source text gives us a fascinating explanation. It warns that we shouldn't permit Satan to place himself between us and God. Because if you allow that to happen, the enemy whispers a very specific lie right into your ear. He tells you that your troubles are the most grievous, sorest troubles that anyone has ever had to bear. He basically tricks you into thinking, my troubles are the absolute worst.
And this brilliantly illustrates his main tactic. It's like a magic trick, specifically the magnifying glass trick. The devotional literally says he will place his magnifying glasses before your eyes and present everything to you in an exaggerated form. All of a sudden, a totally minor temporal issue looks absolutely massive. You start to think everything is going completely wrong, and boom, you are overwhelmed with total discouragement.
Through this exaggerated lens, reality is completely distorted. You look at a passing earthly problem and you cry out, I can't handle this huge disaster. The enemy totally tricks your mind into feeling trapped by taking things that are seen, blowing them completely out of proportion, and hiding the actual eternal reality from your view.
Part 3. Dropping your heavy burden.
But here is the amazing news from our source text. We absolutely do not have to fall prey to Satan's power. We just don't. When we feel utterly overwhelmed by those magnified problems, the text tells us to come with contrition of heart and say this exact phrase. Here I lay my burden down. I cannot bear it. It is too heavy for me. I lay it down at the feet of my compassionate Redeemer. It's this beautiful act of total surrender, basically acknowledging that while the burden feels way too heavy for us, it is absolutely nothing for infinite power.
So whenever you, or maybe a child you're guiding, feels that heavy discouragement creeping in, here is a super simple, actionable 3-step plan to use. Step 1. Take the Word of God as your counsel. Use it to reality check your situation. Step 2. Humble your doubting soul before God. And Step 3. Lay that heavy burden straight at Jesus' feet. Seriously, just leave it there. Don't carry it yourself.
Part 4. The power of your words. Now, overcoming that heavy, magnified feeling isn't just an internal process. It actually involves a superpower that you have, one that dramatically affects everyone around you. This is a massive concept, especially when you're teaching young minds. The text warns that when you're tempted, you must not breathe a single word of doubt or darkness. Why? Because every doubt you utter is a seed. When you talk out your dark feelings, those words don't just magically disappear into thin air. They act like tiny seeds planted directly into the minds of your friends.
The text shows us two very different harvests that we can grow. If you open the door to evil suggestions, you start planting words of doubt. Think of these like weeds.
They are filled with distrust and rebellious questioning. The text actually warns that this spreads unbelief to your friends and becomes almost impossible to counteract. But on the flip side, we have words of light. These are good seeds, and they do the exact opposite. They lift souls to Jesus, they provide deep spiritual strength, and they bring unspeakable joy and glory to the people around you.
The source material makes a really sobering point here. You see, you might be able to recover from your own season of temptation. You might escape the trap, but the friends who heard you complain, well, they might not be able to escape from the unbelief that you suggested to them. Your influence really does sway them. That's why these takeaways are just so absolutely vital. Do not breathe a word of darkness. Actively choose who is going to rule your heart and control your mind. Always remember your influence and seek to speak only the things that will give spiritual strength and enlightenment to everyone around you.
So, we've seen how to look past the temporal, how to recognize the enemy's tricky magnifying glass, and exactly how to drop our burdens right at the feet of our Redeemer. Now that you are armed with this understanding, I want to leave you with a final, really important question based on our source today. When you face your next frustration, big or small, what kind of seeds will your words plant in the minds of the people who hear you?